name is Cora Harrington, and I'm the Lingerie Addict, and I'm here at Orchard Corset with Lucy of Lucy's Corsetry. Hi, Lucy.
Hello.
Giving a brief introduction to corsets for readers of the Lingerie Addict. I'm really, really excited to have you with me here today. I mean, this is definitely a highlight of my blogging career. You're such a noted figure in the corsetry world, and you know so much, you have so much experience. And I just kind of want to bring some of that over to the lingerie side and educate some of TLA's readers who are maybe new to corsets or have gotten some misinformation, because there's a lot of bad advice out there, and who may be looking for where to start but aren't sure how to get started. So I guess we should get started.
Yes.
My first question is for you. This is a 3-part series, so our first part is going to focus on reasons people might wear corsets, places to buy a corset, that sort of thing. My first question for you, what are some reasons why someone would want to wear a corset?
Apart from the obvious figure shaping, I know a lot of people who wear corsets for back support, as deep pressure therapy, if they have depression, anxiety, Asperger's syndrome.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of applications for it. I know some people who use it for posture and confidence issues, and it really does help. Posture. Yeah, yeah. So there are a lot of reasons to wear a corset, and some of the reasons you don't even know until after you try it, and then they discover this whole other world about it. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Some of those I never even heard of before. I mean, the figure shaping bit is obvious. The way it overlaps with lingerie is obvious, but I didn't think about it being a form of therapy or
confidence booster.
Right, right. That never even occurred to me. So there's a lot of different options for corsets out there, not just in terms of sizes, but also styles and shapes and stores and designers. There's so much. It's crazy. What kind of silhouettes, like what kind of corset shape would you recommend for a corsetry newbie? Under bust, over bust, long line, short line? I mean, kind of what do you think is a good, I guess, core baseline corset to begin with?
I often tell people that they might be more comfortable starting with a cincher or a short corset. So it's an underbust corset that doesn't come up too high on the rib cage, so that it still allows them to breathe. The hips don't extend down too low, so it doesn't limit their mobility that much. And they just get used to the feeling of having just their waistline restricted a little bit. And in terms of silhouette, usually a Victorian hourglass is fine, nothing too extreme or wasp waist, and yet it still gives you a little bit of curve. A lot of people are looking for that that little boost to their silhouette, getting that hourglass figure, and so starting with something that is a little bit too tubular, it might hurt their hips as well. So just having a tiny bit of compression over the waistline tends to be the most comfortable for many beginners.
Okay, so Victorian hourglass, that's really good to know. Thank you. There's a lot of shady corset sellers out there, as I'm sure we all know. A lot of people selling corsets that are sized small, medium, and large. And you and I both know that's not the way corsets are supposed to be sized, but could you maybe share with Lingerie Addict readers why a medium corset isn't really a corset, or kind of like what sizing method a real corset would use?
Well, first of all, small, medium, large is very subjective. And depending on the brand, depending on the people, you can't really rely on small, medium, large to fit every person. And also, when it comes to corsets, it's fitted so closely to the body that there is kind of no room for error. And if you get something that's too small or too large, it's not going to fit right, it's not going to look right, it's not going to feel comfortable, and it's going to actually discourage the wearer from using it. So the correct way to size corsets is actually by taking measurements, either in centimeters or inches, and they may measure around the waistline, but I also encourage people to measure at the underbust area, the rib cage, and also their hips, as well as take note at how long their torso is. And the reason for that is, people are all different shapes and sizes, and people are looking for different levels of compression for whatever reason, whether it's for therapy or for aesthetics. And so you can't expect one corset to fit everybody the exact same way. So, it does take a little bit of footwork to find the right corset for you, but with those 4 measurements, the underbust, waist, hips, and the torso length, you can go a long way.
That's really insightful, thank you. So we talked about measuring and fitting for your corset. Corsets are a good corset, you know, it should use steel bones and brocade. And we'll talk about that in the next video installment. But it can be, if you tie it too tightly, like it can be painful. Or if you wear it too long, it can be painful. How long would you recommend someone wear their new corset? Like how long should they wear it to break it in or to get used to the feeling of being cinched in?
I typically recommend that a beginner wear their corset for no longer than 2 hours.
Okay.
Now, this can mean 10 minutes, or it can mean the entire full 2 hours. But breaking in a corset is just as important for the body of the beginner as it is for the corset itself, because they need to get used to the feeling of a corset. It's different from any kind of garment they've probably ever worn before. And so some people might feel a little bit claustrophobic in it. Some people, they might be in a little bit of pain. They might not be as compressible as they thought they were. There are a lot of different reasons. And so I tend to recommend that beginners only start with at most an hour or two, and then take it off and see how they feel and see how their body sort of accommodates to the garment.
That makes perfect sense. Well, that's it for part 1 of our Introduction to Corset series with Lucy Corsetry. Thank you. We'll be back with part 2 in just a minute.